For as long as I can remember, I've always loved watching a mentally torn character, like an absolute fucking villain, redeem himself. Like, I'm a big fan of character development, and watching a character having their own mental growth and redemption or kind of becoming a better person is what I find to be the best part of any show I've ever watched. And I think the first introduction a lot of people had to that is Zuko. When we first meet Zuko, he was evil, a part of this menacing, terrorizing Fire Nation, and most importantly, look at the cut. I would be evil too if my barber did me with this eggplant looking ass haircut. For the first season, his life goal was to capture the Avatar. He was obsessed with it, thought about it when he was training, sleeping, and probably when he was beating his meat. At first we didn't know why he was obsessed with it. Well, turns out Zuko didn't really have the best childhood. He was raised in the Fire Nation, always taught to hate and kill anybody besides them. One day during a meeting, Zuko spoke of a return. He had a pretty valid take though. Them day kids wanted to sacrifice the whole division as bait, and he was against it. Now his dad, who happens to be the mighty Fire Lord Ozai, he got a little bit mad. He got a bit angry. Now, most parents would yell at their kids, maybe even pull out the belt, I don't know. Well, his dad is different. He decided to challenge his own son to an ANTEC, which in real life terms is a Western face-off at high noon with your dad. Which, mind you, Zuko was like 13 at the time. Bro didn't even try, he just accepted his fate. No, Ozai wasn't playing. He burnt his face and told him the only way for him to come back home is to capture the Avatar and regain his honor. Now, me personally, I wouldn't let that slide. But Zuko gave in. He made his entire life purpose to capture the Avatar. And he pretty much goes the entirety of book 1 just chasing after Aang, even almost freezing to death trying to kidnap him, which does prevent him from finding peace within himself and thus not mastering lightning. Iroh, his uncle, tells him, you must let go of your feelings of shame if you want your anger to go away. But Zuko says he doesn't feel any shame at all. He's as proud as he's ever been. Then Iroh drops the hardest line, saying, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame. Basically saying you need to accept your whole self, but not in the I'm fine just the way I am manner, rather being the truly humble person who accurately acknowledges his strengths, weaknesses, his place in the world, and is able to actually learn from his failures because he does not allow pride to get in the way of growth. Leading on to book 2, where things start to change and the turns begin to table. Zuko struggles with learning true humility throughout book 2. He's become torn between continuing his mission to capture Aang, thus regaining his honor, and finding a life of peace with his uncle. So after him and Uncle Iroh are pretty much banished from the Fire Nation, they are forced to hide with the Earth Kingdom people, who happen to be the same people that the Fire Nation has been agonizing for the past century. And this experience changed him, realizing that the Fire Nation ain't all rainbows and sunshines as they say they are, and made him realize that his uncle was pretty much always right. Episodes like The Blue Spirit, Zuko Alone, and Bitter Work really show that Zuko can be a good person. At this point, Zuko and Iroh are pretty much living peacefully in Ba Sing Se. Iroh having his own dream tea shop while Zuko works with him, almost bagging a baddie, until Zuko's sister Azula arrives, and Zuko is given a choice. Give up on everything he dreamed of, his dad's respect, his honor in the Fire Nation, or his peaceful life with Uncle Iroh. At the end, he gives in, allowing his need to redeem himself in his father's eyes, the source of his shame, to stop him from accepting his new life and choosing the good, leading him to sadly betraying Uncle Iroh, joining his sister, and practically killing the Avatar. This is so hard to watch, like literally all that character development just out the fucking window. This as a viewer is so frustrating seeing Zuko go back to his old path, especially after all that Uncle Iroh did for him. Though, even after all that, we do see something different in Zuko. Azula actually tries to cheer Zuko up after regretting betraying his uncle, saying Iroh actually betrayed him. Something I noticed is when Azula tries to manipulate Zuko, she says his honor will be restored when he finally goes to the Fire Nation after Aang's death. And Zuko says, but I don't have the Avatar. What if father doesn't give me my honor back? Do you hear what I hear?
I betrayed Uncle.
No!
Azula brought up his honor, not him. So at this moment, Zuko's honor is secondary to him. So when Iroh said he was going through a metamorphosis, and when he told Katara in the middle of their fight in the cave that he had changed, he wasn't lying. He was right. Zuko felt shame, and we see more of that in book 3. So now Zuko has everything he could have ever wanted. He was a prince, his dad respects him, he got his shouty back, he got all his honor back, but for some reason, he wasn't satisfied. We see in the night he sneaks into Iroh's cell attempting to give him good food, though Iroh refuses to talk to him, and I would do the same too. Bro, if I was Iroh having to deal with this YouTuber apology looking ass trying to talk to me every night, bitch, they wouldn't be calling me the Dragon of the West, I would become the fucking Ender Dragon. Zuko then finally crashes out on Iroh, calling him a stubborn old man and a hurl of other insults. Somehow Zuko does have a small part in him that still wants to blame Uncle Iroh, but he knows within his heart that he clearly made a mistake, but his pride and ego won't let him accept it. Zuko starts to have this blur of emotions constantly fighting in his head, and this frustration is shown to us in the beach episode. And with Azula, Ty Lee, and May on the beach, Zuko finally admits that he is not happy with the decision he made, which leads him to finally sealing the deal when his father has him sit in a war meeting to discuss the Fire Nation's upcoming plans. He asks Zuko his opinion on the Earth Kingdom people. Zuko responds with saying that the Earth Kingdom people are proud and strong in that through all that they endure, they will always keep their hope. And his father Ozai takes this information and decides, we need to destroy their hope. Zuko hears this and says, you know what? This is some bullshit. What the fuck am I doing here? And from here on, Zuko decides to make a big change. Thinking of what his mother would think about what he's done, Zuko decides to actually make an effort to be better. This is what the fuck I'm talking about when I say character development. This shit was fully earned, and I highly thank the writers for taking their time with this and not rushing things. His character development has many ups and just as many, if not more, downs by book 3. Zuko is so imperfect, though we the viewers still know that at the end of the day, he is still a good kid trying to earn his love from his father, which is understandable for anyone who's had a parental figure in their life, especially as a teenager. And when Zuko finally realizes the horrors of what he's done, he tried to stop Sparkaboom Man from killing Aang. He's like, no, wait, stop, bro, this ain't what I want. And Zuko also has this beautiful moment in the eclipse when he finds his father directly confronting him, saying, you will not have control over my life anymore. This is done. Case over. I realized my role is to help the Avatar bring peace to the nation because this is what my mother would want and I need to live in the image that she would be proud of. This moment only comes after him meeting Uncle Iroh right before taking back Ba Sing Se, after all the terrible things he said to him at the prison. Even though Iroh loves him with all his heart, Zuko begs on his knee with zero excuses. He says, Iroh, I was awful for my doings. I am so sorry for everything I did. I'm ashamed. This moment, the fucking character development. Zuko then starts bawling, goddamn bursting in tears because he is so sorry for what he has done and said to Uncle Iroh. And Iroh doesn't even respond. He just rushes Zuko with a hug, saying, I was so scared because I thought you have lost your way. Zuko's redemption is an absolute masterpiece, top to bottom. And even when Zuko solves his rivalry with Aang, having no anger to fuel his firebending, he loses all his shit that fueled his bending for so long. He has to go find the true meaning of firebending, and it's even stronger when he has calmness and peace of mind like Uncle Iroh. We actually see a physical representation of his growth as a person. I'm telling you, this is how you do a redemption right. Man, just go fucking watch Avatar. I cannot speak higher of this show enough. And after all this, Zuko finally defeats Azula, becomes the Fire Lord, and defeats his father Ozai. Y'all can tell me that shit wasn't beautiful. Now speaking of fathers, the complete opposite of Ozai, we have Thors, father of Thorfinn from Vinland Saga, the son of the legendary Viking whose strength was second to none. With just the first appearance from the first season, Thorfinn was just an edgy, angry teen in what seemed to be another action series. A very fucking good one, but still just a standard action battle series with a Viking plot mixed into it. Following the death of Thorfinn's father, his life was thrown into a swirl of hatred and revenge. Thorfinn then spent almost a decade seeking revenge under Askeladd, the man who killed his father. He spent all this time killing innocent people, all for the selfish goal of eventually killing Askeladd. But hot take, murdering ain't that very good. So by all means, Thorfinn was a bad guy, right? But being set in a time with so much death and violence, it's very easy to see his actions as normal. Because he's blinded by rage and we're blinded by holy shit, he just dodged that fucking axe. Eventually, Thorfinn's dream of avenging his father was torn away right before his eyes. The man he had longed to kill was cut down by another blade, robbing Thorfinn of the one goal and purpose that had given him reason for living. Confused, lost, and without a sense of purpose, he became a reflection of what so many of us had experienced in our own lives. Similar to Zuko, Thorfinn's entire life was driven by hatred and vengeance, but once he had lost that, he had Nothing. During his time being sold and used as a slave, Thorfinn had a recurring dream of coming face to face with all those people that he has killed in his life. This dream was haunting him night after night, though one night was different. In his dream, he came face to face with Askeladd, the man he had spent so many years trying to kill. However, this time their conversation was not about causing death and destruction, but about healing and compassion. Thorfinn was urged to release all his pent-up anger and frustration, ultimately learning to forgive himself for all the blood that he had shed. At this point, Thorfinn was finally able to look within himself and find the strength to forgive his own mistakes. Thorfinn swore that he would never cause harm to anyone again, determined to embrace a life without violence and hatred. This newfound philosophy was tested during his time as a slave, when he had endured a severe beating. After such a brutal punishment, Thorfinn said to his aggressors, "We don't know each other, or bear any grudge. Why should we have to beat one another?" He eventually understands the significance of his father's words told to him as a child, and proclaims that he has no enemies. This is perhaps the greatest scene in all of fiction. So let's talk, man to man. I don't know you, and I don't know what you've been through or what you're currently facing, but I do know this: you've been hurt by people, and you've faced situations that have filled you with the desire for revenge, and I've been there too. But if we're honest, Thorfinn has been through far worse than either of us, and yet he teaches us both the right and wrong ways to move forward. And it all culminates in a scene that has taught me how to live with grace. It showed me that if you truly believe that you have no enemies, then you won't. And most importantly, it taught me how to stop being my own enemy. Though Thorfinn realized this way before in his dream of Askeladd. As Thorfinn looks at all the people, Askeladd tells him, "This is the place where everyone is your enemy." And without realizing, you, watching the video, live there too. I mean, how many people do you judge based on how they look, or just one bad thing they did, without even talking to them? How often do you hate people on social media for having something that you don't, out of jealousy? And most importantly, how often do you hate yourself? I bet it's often, more than enough. But this might be easier to escape than you think. You stop seeing other people as your enemy. For so many people, it's so much easier to be kinder to others than themselves. Though if you try to apply this to your own life, you'll slowly realize that seeing the good in other people will help you see the good in yourself. And as Thorfinn opened his eyes to all the people below him, he needlessly made his enemy, pushing him down to the hell below. Even you, watching this video, not even realizing it, have made so many people your enemy, which are now dragging you down. Because when you keep focusing on the negatives in others, it becomes hard avoiding seeing the negatives in yourself. Vinland Saga is not the only series implying this message. Series with themes of growth and forgiveness like Vagabond and Berserk were catapulted into the spotlight alongside Vinland Saga. All three series convey the same themes of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. Thorfinn's ability to forgive himself and move on from his past, truly free from enemies, mirrors Musashi's journey in Vagabond of discovering true strength. Just as Guts in Berserk seeks purpose through relentless struggle, Musashi was a man defined by his ability to kill. He was ruthless, capable of destroying 70 men in the pursuit of strength, hoping to become invincible under the sun. His endless journey to find strength led him to the same realization as Thorfinn. He came to understand that invincible is just a word, and that true strength lies in kindness. The strength he desperately sought didn't come from how many men he could kill or how many villages he could destroy. It came within the ability to show kindness to others and himself. Guts, on the other hand, stands at the most extreme example of the three. His journey teaches us how to keep moving forward despite the hardships we encounter. He has endured more pain than any character I can think of. He had been betrayed, taken advantage of, and witnessed horrors no one should ever have to see. But despite all this, he keeps moving forward. He is Guts, the struggler. A perfect representation of the independable human spirit, and a testament to why we must keep moving forward in life, no matter the pain, suffering, and loss. The core message and surging popularity of these three series sparked a massive surge in people wanting to better themselves. The concept of self-love, kindness, and compassion changed the perspective of many who felt at their lowest. However, these four words had an even greater impact than anything else. I have no enemies. It's easy to fall into the vicious cycle of negativity, and many are cast into the darkest times of their lives. But after hearing those 4 words and sharing the journey with Thorfinn, Musashi, and Guts, many were inspired to change for the better. During times of extreme loss and hopelessness, people were able to grasp onto a newfound ambition to do better and become better. Whether people chose to improve themselves physically or mentally, at the end of the day, it's all about self-improvement. Experiencing Guts' journey throughout imaginable tragedy and hardship, Musashi realizing that true strength lies in kindness, and witnessing Thorfinn forgive himself, letting go of life of revenge to live a life free of hatred and resentment, changed my life and the lives of millions around the world. These 3 characters have transformed the way so many people live, especially in the era marked by loneliness, isolation, and confusion. And through it all, we still managed to become better. If I were to leave you with one final statement, it would be this. Always be kind, because that's what true strength is. Through life's pain and suffering, struggle through it all just to see tomorrow. And most importantly, have no enemies, not even yourself. Thank you so much for watching, bro. If you haven't already watched my other videos, I've got another part of this coming out soon. And shout out to all the people for almost reaching 700 subscribers. If you enjoyed this video and want to support this content more, please subscribe. It helps me a lot. Other than that, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.